welcome to Express Mobility. The topic of electrification is no longer an isolated buzzword. It has found acceptance and is disrupting in almost all forms of mobility. Today, we have with us Mr. Ravi Panga, Director and CEO of Causis Mobility, who aims to disrupt the electric vehicle in India as well as the global market. So let's try and find out, what are his thoughts and plans in the electrification field. So Ravi, could you quickly give us a brief background about what exactly is Causis E-Mobility and your product portfolio?
Yeah, thank you, Nilesh, for taking out time and reaching out to us. We appreciate your time as well as your space in the EV ecosystem. So Causis E-Mobility is all about net zero emission and the investments into a social impact project, especially related to climate change. So we are more climate change people. We are strong believers in that. My industry backgrounds of 3 decades in commercial vehicle industry, especially in mass mobility, gives me this added advantage in this space. So in nutshell, Causis E-Mobility is going to disrupt the mass mobility. And for that, we are going to be the OEMs of our products. Number one, we are going to fund our projects. We are going to have our own charging infrastructure. We are also going to have our own renewable energy in the future, but currently we'll use more of a green energy mix. And finally, in India, in the EV ecosystem, we have to be GCC player, which technically means that you have to operate the buses as well as you have to maintain the buses. And these are going to be long-term contracts for 12 years. So that's why Causis E-Mobility is ticking all the 6 boxes. Currently, except for the renewable energy, we are into all the boxes. But in the future, we intend to be in the space of all the 6 boxes. And that gives us an added advantage than the industry stalwarts today in the EV ecosystem in India.
Correct. So Ravi, coming to the ecosystem, what kind of investments have you already made, and what's the kind of funds that you have at your disposal? So could you just shed some light on that?
Yeah. So if you look at a big picture, then we would be investing around $8 billion in India, out of which, of course, the equity infusion will be around the $2 billion, but the debt markets we will leverage to $6 billion, maybe to 24 months to 36 months ahead of time. This is the roadmap. But currently, as on date, we have invested roughly upwards of 100 crores to 150 crores. So which is roughly $20 million we have already infused into the Indian market for various legs of operation as well as on the plant side. And now we are leveraging the debt market, partially funding ourselves for the current projects in hand. So roughly by January, we will expose ourselves in an equity and a debt ratio combined together of roughly $600 million.
Okay. And Ravi, if I'm not wrong, you already have won a good number of tenders, including electric double-decker buses. Correct me if I'm wrong. So by when can we expect, what kind of order books do you have for your buses in India?
Yeah, thank you very much for this, because this was the very nice starting point for all of us. So we are the proud owners of 700 double-decker bus order for the most important client in India is BEST. As you know that we grew in Maharashtra with double-decker buses as a child. So it was always a fantasy for me to travel in double-decker buses. So we are electrifying 700 double-decker buses out of the 900 double-decker buses order released so far. And by contract, we got it sometime in February onwards. And finally, we inked the deal sometimes in August with the BEST and the government of Maharashtra. You can see these buses in real time sometime in December. Actual flow of the buses on the streets will start. But by we should be there by the October month, because that's the one when we'll be showcasing the first proto to the market as well as to our client. And it will take operational preparedness for the depots, charging infrastructure, homologation. So I see that in New Year for sure, we'll have double-decker buses on the streets of Mumbai.
Correct.
That's on the first order. We also got a L1 category in KDMT, which is Kalyan Dombivli, and I expect that order to be in this month, or maximum in the first week of October. And why I'm saying that with very proud is those are the buses you will actually see at the end of October, because those are 9-meter and 12-meter buses, and we already have our production done for first 27 vehicles in our Jaipur plant. So those are the product which you'll see on the streets very early. So these are the two major orders currently we are executing in India.
Correct. And coming to your production capacity, you said that you invested roughly around up to 200 crores in India. So what kind of production capacity have you currently set up? And going forward, given the fact that you see a huge scope for growth in India, what is the ideal capacity that you will target?
Yeah, so when we started this Causis E-Mobility sometime in June 21, that time we thought that we don't have any manufacturing facility, so we should leverage the matured bodybuilding system in India. So that's why we have bought out one brownfield project, who is a diesel conversion vehicle system. And we started our production on a contractual basis to a ownership level. So that financial transactions are going on. So that's why I'm keeping it as one of the contractual manufacturing and part of our story. So we do have a facility currently there which can produce roughly 750 buses per annum in single shift. So that can be articulated to 1,200 to 1,500 roughly in a year. Good news is we want to be a state player and a majority state player in the state of Maharashtra. And that's why we have taken a 75-acre land in Pune in MIDC area, because Pune has a very good vendor system, skill sets, very matured EV ecosystem, and Causis didn't want to miss. So when the Maharashtra government leveraged the EV policy, we are the first investors in that policy. And 75 acres has been taken by us. And probably in 9 months' time, that production line should be up and running. So few of the double-decker buses will also be made, few of hundreds, maybe last 200, 300, because double-decker buses logically should be made in a state where we receive the order. So nutshell, that plant will produce somewhere around 1,500 buses. And good news is, which is in the market, is also about the Andhra engagement with the government, which they have come out in the media. So that will be our third major plant investment in it. So put together, we will be ready with 4,000 buses per annum capacity. Market is big. So even with 4,000 capacity, we'll be one of the 6 or 10 players in India. So there is a big market for electric buses in India, and we are a part of that ecosystem.
And Ravi, one thing that I've almost I'm unable to understand that while we talk about electrification in the commercial vehicle space, electrification is only happening on the bus segment size. Do you see, because you have a background in the CV industry, do you see the trucking industry may not be the ideal candidate for electrification, and they might have to look at some alternate energy sources? Or what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful question to really begin it, because this is a board level discussions we often have, that why not trucks? And I'm basically a truck guy. So out of my 28 years of career, I spent almost like 20 years in trucking side. And that too from, as you know, that industry is divided into 4 major segments. And let me define the segments quickly and come to your question. So SCV, which is a small commercial vehicle, LCV, which is a light commercial, ICV, which is an intermediate commercial vehicle, and then finally medium and heavy duties, right? There are 4 clear-cut segmentation in the trucking industry. So I have no doubts that the SCV, small commercial vehicle, LCV, and a portion of the intermediate commercial vehicle and a portion of the medium duty up to 16 tonner will be good for battery technologies. Especially the younger, the small scale vehicles like SCWs, what we call, could have both battery technologies, swap as well as the charging side. Whereas as we get into the larger piece of 16 tonner, it will be more about charging side, a constant battery purpose. So the other range from 16 tonner to the bulk movement, I think we'll have to rely on fuel cell and hydrogen base. And that's why you could see that there is a lot of noise happening on that hydrogen storage and hydrogen transportation. So I think the country is in the right direction. So there will be a clear-cut demarcation in the trucking industry that anything below 16 tons, and especially in the intra-city, that is within the city and a short radius of 25 to 50 kilometers, and coming back to the destination the evening back, those type of operations will be more battery based. And the long hauls, probably after 16 tonners, which will take a trip of 10 days, 15 days, with a good hydrogen ecosystem like petrol pumps, it will revert. So truck is a very great example, Nilesh, where you will find the mix of the battery as well as fuel cell hydrogen based technologies. So that's my take currently, but it can get more finer and refined as we go along.
And what about the competition? Because in the trucking, the bus segment, electric bus segment, you've got a mix of new startups and also bigger players coming in from outside. So do you see that the industry is so huge that that it can accommodate so many players? Or then again, because it's a capital intensive segment compared to your electric two-wheeler segment, so do you see that there will be major disruptions?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a real tipping point, I'll say, to the Indian industry. So first, let's start that I started this journey internally in the thought process some 8 to 10 years back. So that time for me, I used to spend a lot of time with the people in explaining why battery operated vehicles are environmental friendly and cost economic wise, total cost of ownership is equivalent to diesel. Now that debate is out from the plate. Like now, nobody spends time on convincing that the battery is economically, environmentally is viable. So that's one zone is out. So when you say that and come to the real competitors, especially in the mass mobility, the players is going to be limited. It won't be more than 6 to 10 players, out of which also it's equally divided that 5 major players from the commercial vehicle industries will be there in the e-mobility side. But they will be continuing with their ICE exposure also, because that industry is not going to die in the next 2 decades. So, but those people will balance those. But the newcomers like us will also be there, because the initial technology-wise is a big differentiator. There are some Chinese-dependent technology players, and there are some players like us who are European designed and European dependent. So there will be a right mix of the old houses of the automobile industries, the newcomers, because this is an extremely technology driven, number one, and capital intensive. So startup companies with a good ESG backup or the carbon neutral funders, especially from the West Coast of America, especially from European. So this industry is a right mix of people in terms of technology and in terms of capital exposure. And that's why I foresee that in mass mobility, there will be limited players. For sure, the big names in the trade in the ICV will be there as a competition. Newcomers like us will also coexist. But Nilesh, the market is so huge, even if 10 of us don't have to compete. So the good point is we must collaborate with each other, because infrastructure has to be shared. The energies have to be shared. The fundings can be put into equal envelope so that we get at a lower cost of capital for all of us. Because as you see, just an example, each vehicle costs from 1.5 CR to 2 crores, based on it. Whereas an ICE costs some 40 lakhs to 50 lakhs. So it's 3 times more capex side.
Correct.
But OPEX is 1/10 or 1/8 or 1/6 based on the different mass mobility sections. So over a period of 6 to 8 years, the TCO stands in favor of battery. But to withhold the capex investments, especially in the GCC model, where the OEMs have to invest, is a challenge. So I don't say that the competition is between amongst us OEMs. The competition is much more on the capital side to get allocated to the EV ecosystem. That's the challenge.
Correct. And Ravi, coming to collaborations, you mentioned collaborations is the way forward. Since you're a new player or new entrant in the Indian market, are you already, or will you look at partnership, joint ventures, or acquisitions? Given the fact that you said you have got a huge funding plans and at disposal.
Yeah. So I'll divide this answer into four quick sections. One is the body section, which is the superstructure built up and all that. So that will be exclusively done by Causis, because that is the expertise we want to meet, because we are not selling this product in the GCC. We are going to operate ourselves. So we are building vehicles for ourselves. So we don't trust anybody on that. So we will build our own bodies, right? That's one section. Now, coming to the component level. We are welcoming anybody who wants to tie up with us on the battery side, right? Whether it's a cell utilization side, we'll never be a cell manufacturers, but we'll be utilization organization for the cells. So we can commit our cells, but the packaging, the BMS, the moduling, everything we will do. So we'll have a technology control based on our architecture. Correct. So battery collaboration is one side of the story. The second very important component in the EV ecosystem is starter motors, investor, DC-DC converters, and more on the electrical side. So if any good player comes in that sector and wants to be a front end for us as a partial or underwrite some of their production, 25% of their production, we are willing to collaborate with them. They can also sell to another OEMs. Correct. Now, the third area, which is going to be a big differentiator, and Nilesh, that requires a heavy investment from our side, from the industry side, from the neutral partners, and from the government, is the infrastructure. So currently, chargers is one area where we are looking forward. We have a technology types with certain people, but that's the area where I would like to invest more onto this charging infrastructure, because today, charging infrastructure, let me tell you, is the major bottleneck. Correct. I've been insisting, I've been talking in various platforms that we have to collaborate. We have to have a third parties investing in the charging infrastructure as a standalone, so that it will be big support for new starters, OEMs, and all that. Just one more minute I'll take in explaining this. Like ICE without the petrol pumps will not survive. Similarly, for a long term, EV ecosystem will not survive if the government, if the private investor, third-party people, and as well as we OEMs in this sector invest on the infrastructure. Correct.
And coming to battery standardization, the government is speaking about it that there are lot many cheap imports happening, and as a result, it is giving a bad name to the industry and also is a cause of concern in terms of safety. So, do you see a battery standardization policy could play as an enabler, or do you see it as a deterrent for innovation?
So I'm the part of the government. I can always say proudly on that, because whether it's a central government, union government, or the state governments, or the EV policy makers of this country, as well as at a state level, are reaching out to us. And let me tell you very transparently, Nilesh, I'm super excited with these people, because they have a limited knowledge currently. So they are relying more on OEMs and collaborators like us, and they are taking it very seriously. Every meeting, right from the minister level to the diplomats, administration people, bureaucrats, are seriously taking notes and taking corrective action in that. So it is not a deterrent, for sure. And I will tell you that I'm more excited to work with the government agencies, first time in my career, because the decision taking is now not a laggard now. It's not like 6 months or 10 months. They're immediately processing it. And for anybody, because we are into mass mobility, the safety is much more important, right, on the battery side. So a lot of incidences are happening in the battery. So what we are trying to ensure in this is safety standards, because cell is standalone is not a problem. But how you integrate cell into battery packs, into modules, into the thermal safeties. So there where the people, new entrants, are compromising, which we don't want to compromise, because this is our assets. We get our payments based on kilometer utilization. So to shorten the answer, the involvement in the battery by union government and by the state government is a welcome step. I welcome them, but I welcome them with a lot of caution, because it's the safety, and safety is non-negotiable.
Correct.
So the small incidents what are happening in the two-wheeler industry is a disturbing trend. But let me tell you, I have a good association in the two-wheeler industries. People in the two-wheeler industries are also working day and night to ensure the safety of the things in the battery side. So it's a good news. It's not a deterrent at all. More people getting involved on the subject.
Correct. Last two quick questions, sir. Well, will you look at setting up a R&D base in India? And also, will you look at hydrogen, LNG, or other mode of fuel, energy sources in your commercial vehicle product portfolio?
So I will take the second question first. We will be into that segment of fuel cell, but not as a dispenser of the energy. It's like hydrogen storage, creation of hydrogen, and the transportation of hydrogen. I will leave it to bigger players who are already in the industry. But on the vehicle technology side, if we want to realign ourselves portion of the portfolio to fuel cell and this one, for yes. So on the product side, yes. But on the support side or hydrogen generation side, storage side, no. It's pure, because it's a very intensive one. Coming back to the design, you'll be very good to note on this that already our first setup is there in Berlin, as in Germany, who are our technology partners who are in the industry for last 1 decade. And we have replicated a portion of the work already in Delhi. So I already have a technical center in Delhi up and operating. I already have 50 odd people working in that as a separate organizational input. Going forward, we are looking for a strong team of 500 to 800 people of design, technology, automation, various platforms. So yes, India is going to be our R&D hub. And the Pune, currently I can disclose you that Pune will be playing a major part on the R&D side. So the Pune plant, to sum it up, will be not only a production center for our buses and three-wheelers and battery and the chargers, but it will be a big time R&D research center integrated into it.
Correct. Thank you, Ravi. It was great talking to you. I know we are short on time, but in an interesting discussion, and we look forward to having you on, soon.
Thank you. Just Nilesh, one concluding remark to the media. I think media partners are doing a great job overall in Indian system. I think the enthusiasm shown by media is welcome move. And I want you to write more a neutral EV ecosystem reportings, because this will help us as an industry. So I'm more of an industry first man, and then I represent Causis. Thank you very much for time and energy.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you.